Well, our beloveds, we're going to see if our another can channel while her eyes are open. She's petting her kitty, so she's distracted. And we're just chatting through her, even though her eyes are open, which is when she normally is present in her world. So she's learning. So we want you all to know how loved you are. You're actually loved more than you ever have been in some ways, from the perspective of there is more love to give. When the Earth's vibration raises up like it has been, it means that the temperature of the radio station has gone higher. You guys are usually capped out at the 107. And what if we tell you that you're at 120 now? You have got channels that you've never had access to before. And based on your earthly definition of what love looks like, this is it. Now, from the universal love perspective, we could never love you more because our love is infinite for you, and it just simply is. But when you measure it from the human love-o-meter, it will be higher. It will feel better. It will feel safer. It will feel nicer. It will feel calmer. It will feel more expansive. And you guys are just gonna be happy campers if you allow yourselves to move into this new vibration. Now, we spoke a little bit the other day about those who are choosing to exit at this time, and we wanted to give you an example that is somewhat new and unique. It doesn't mean that it has not ever happened before. It is more that it is not happening frequently. And we have chosen to try something new and different in order to help the narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths to heal. Now, our another has a great love, believe it or not, for this sector, because while they do behave in truly atrocious ways, it is for the most part because of incredible trauma sustained in their childhood years. And so while they do have choice, in many ways one could argue that they don't have choice because their free will has been so limited and restricted as to almost be rendered useless. So now here we say, we want the victims of abuse to stand up and to love themselves and to heal themselves and to get over their codependency and that kind of stuff. But what do we do with the narcissists, the psychopaths, and the sociopaths? Now, we want you to know that those terms out here in the energetic world do not actually exist, but they are man-made terms, and you all identify with them. It is merely an extreme form of trauma, and it is very difficult for them to heal because of the nature of the trauma. They have great difficulty in connecting to the empathic piece of themselves because this was shut down in childhood. So our current plan, which is still in somewhat of the prototype phase, is to have these individuals walk out of their lives and go to a healing space out in the universe, and then to have a walk-in come into their lives so that that particular soul aspect does not have that trauma. This means that while they have the memories of their childhood experiences as well as all others since then, it is not as triggering or traumatizing, thereby allowing them to act out of their prefrontal cortex instead of their amygdala, speaking from more of a therapeutic perspective. However, what it really means is that they act out of their heart chakra, out of their compassion center, out of their ability to understand and see other people's pain and suffering instead of out of their fight or flight extreme reactionary position where they get incredibly defensive, volatile, hostile, and oftentimes even flat out dangerous. So if you picture the same physical body that is now inhabited by a walk-in soul or spirit that is no longer triggered or traumatized, well, that means that that particular human aspect could behave in a particular way where the egoic needs are met differently, and the cellular trauma can slowly be healed because it is not constantly re-triggered. And so long as the egoic piece and the spiritual piece continues to evolve into a more harmonic expression of self, there should be some healing available. And then, as we have explained to our another, the soul, after doing its initial healing, will be left in kind of like a warming drawer, allowing it to just expand and be at rest. And if it so chooses, it can opt to come back into physical expression by rejoining the physical body that they originally left. Now, we will see how this works out because this is somewhat of a new prototype, but we are hopeful that this would allow those individuals with the greatest level of trauma to heal from their trauma, thereby completing their physical experience or existence here on Mother Earth without having to be recycled again to go through that same lesson. So we are hopeful that if their cellular trauma can be somewhat healed and the egoic needs can be somewhat tempered, that by the time they come back into their body, mind you, fully knowing, having the experience of having had a near-death experience, just in a slightly different form, that they will then be able to express the most loving version of themselves while still healing and continuing that physical existence. It is an unusual expression, and it will be interesting to see how these individuals who are currently in this kind of a space work through this type of a walk-in integration, because oftentimes it is very difficult for somebody who has been so traumatized to let go of their resistance. And some may be successful and some may not. But we do feel that there is a unique opportunity here to explore a different way of healing a traumatized soul expression. And it is somewhat similar to putting somebody into a coma while certain aspects of their body heals and then pulling them out of the coma, thereby limiting the painful expressions of surgical intervention and things like that, thereby preserving the experience or journey of that particular avatar. So we thank you all for listening. We realize that these messages are not everybody's cup of tea, but for those of you who do slog through them, we thank you because it matters more than you realize. By you listening to these words, these vibrations, you then carry them with you as you move into your day-to-day experiences, thereby furthering this knowledge just by intercellular transmission. It may be described as being similar to putting a book under your pillow at night and asking your mind to integrate and learn what knowledge is offered in that book without you ever even having to read it. It is just transmitted energetically. And we are finally in a more loving expression of self where it's possible. So thank you all for those of you who transmit this as a beacon of hope for the rest of humanity who is just not online yet. And we shall see you all at the finish line, because you are all assured of completion of this race this time around, because so many of you are really learning to be loving expressions of self, and your lighthouse communities are getting larger and larger, thereby reinforcing that this way of life is really real, it is really meaningful, and it is helpful to support one another on your journeys when some of you are lagging on this marathon race, because at this point, it really does feel like a marathon. You've got a ways to go, but you have already reached a ways on your current journey. So blessings to all of humanity. We are so proud to see the majority of you really desiring to become better versions of yourselves, whatever that means and however it is that you choose to explore it. And so it is. Namaste.